Welcome to the monthly roundup where I am going to be going through a list of all the things that happened throughout the month that I find interesting in nerd culture, and I'm going to give my opinions on it. This is going to be an unscripted discussion, closer to being a podcast. So sit back, relax, and let's get right into it. Welcome back to Tex-Mex Nerd Feed, where we are dedicated to provoking discussion by proposing ideas and providing our opinions on your favorite nerd culture. My name is Brandon, and today we are going to be doing, like I said, a monthly roundup. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up with different things that happen throughout the month that I want to discuss that I might not have discussed previously throughout the month, or I want to revisit it because of new revelations or something along those lines. Now, what I would like to do, what I'm trying to do is, in the future, when I do these episodes, I want to do a sort of Nerds of the Round Table, something like that, where I get a group of people to do this with me, and then we can have like an actual discussion about these things, get different opinions on different topics. But for right now, it's just going to be me, and these may be the only videos I do for the next couple months because I'm starting college soon, so I'm not sure what kind of time I'm going to have to do weekly videos, so I might end up doing them towards the end of the month. So today, I want to talk about the Spider-Man issue between Sony and Disney, D23, mostly Star Wars news. I want to discuss the Joker trailer that came out for Joaquin Phoenix Joker. I want to talk about Titans Season 2 and the promos. And last but not least, I would like to discuss just briefly Atral Chain, as I picked that up on launch day, and I have a couple opinions on it. Okay, so what I am going to be talking about first is going to be the Spider-Man Marvel or Disney and Sony debacle. So Sony owns the rights to the Spider-Man franchise, to the Spider-Man properties. So there was an agreement between Sony and Disney that allowed for Spider-Man and Spider-Man properties to be placed inside the MCU, and Tom Holland was cast as Spider-Man, so on and so forth. And they did their own Marvel Cinematic Universe version of Spider-Man that wouldn't have existed without the deal between Sony and Disney. Now, Sony owns the properties. Like I said, they own the rights to the properties of Spider-Man. Now, I'm torn because I think that all comic properties should belong to those organizations. So, if Marvel sells the rights to their properties to Disney, then that should include everybody. X-Men, the Avengers, Spider-Man, all of them. Like anything that falls under the Marvel umbrella should be part of the Disney rights at that point. But that's not how it works. They were split up. That's why X-Men isn't part of the MCU yet. Fantastic Four wasn't, and previously Spider-Man was not. Because of that deal, Spider-Man and the rest of his properties were able to come to Marvel, and Marvel was able to make a Spider-Man movie the way they wanted to. Now, with that, we saw some significant changes. We no longer have Uncle Ben. For some reason, he was renamed to Tony Stark, and they just changed Spider-Man significantly, and it seems to be a popular change amongst a lot of fans. So now a lot of people are angry because Sony and Disney could not continue their agreement to make these MCU Spider-Man movies any longer, or to keep Spider-Man in the MCU movies, so he won't be part of the Avengers anymore as of right now. Now, a lot of people are torn, like I said, because they really like Tom Holland's Spider-Man, and they really like the movies that they have created with that Disney has created with the rights to Spider-Man. I, for one, am not a huge fan of the Spider-Man movies. Far From Home was loads better than Homecoming, but both of them were pretty much just coming-of-age teenage movies, and I'm pretty sure Peter spent most of his time as Peter in both of them than he did as Spider-Man. Now, that is a topic that I don't want to talk about right now, but I will mention that unmasked heroes is one of my biggest pet peeves in all of comic book and superhero movies. So, while yes, Spider-Man was a good MCU character and Far From Home and Homecoming were good additions to the MCU, this version of Spider-Man was not good in regards to being a Spider-Man movie. And now a lot of people are thinking that Sony is going to destroy the likeness of Tom Holland's Spider-Man because fans don't trust Sony due to the recent Amazing Spider-Man movies, 1 and 2. So I can see where they're coming from with that, but without Sony, we wouldn't have Spider-Man for PS4, which is an absolutely amazing game. So I don't understand why people think that Sony can't handle it. And what about Into the Spider-Verse? That was a very, very well accepted Spider-Man movie that came from Sony, and people just ignore it and pretend that it doesn't exist just because they want Disney to win. Now, the only reason that Sony and Disney couldn't come up with an agreement, or the only reason why the old agreement didn't last, was because Disney got greedy. They wanted more and more and more and more money, and that's how Disney works. So they're just a big, monstrous corporation that just wants to keep bleeding companies of money, and most of the time they succeed. But this time Sony decided, screw that, fuck Disney, I'm going to continue utilizing my rights to these properties and make myself money if Disney doesn't want in on it. So Disney's greed is the only reason we are in this situation to begin with. But even with that, people are still bitching that Sony is just going to reboot Spider-Man now, and that we're going to have a different actor as Tom Holland, we're going to have Uncle Ben die again, that it's all being rebooted, but that is not the case. Read what I have here on the screen. As for the next 2 currently planned Spider-Man films, both Homecoming and Far From Home director John Watts, as well as actor Tom Holland, are expected to return. So I don't understand why people are bitching and crying that Tom Holland is no longer Spider-Man. Are you fucking stupid? Read the article. And as you can see here, I have some memes and stuff that I post here on Twitter. So if you want to, go to twitter.com/TexMexF and follow our page so you can see some of the stuff we post. So, as I was saying, Tom Holland is still there. The director is still there from Homecoming and Far From Home. So, although things might change, they were going to change anyway. People are having a problem. Oh, well, he's no longer part of the MCU, so what, is he just going to forget about Tony? Is he not going to be sad about Tony's loss and have that motivate him? We had an entire movie based on his motivation for Tony's loss. We had an entire movie on Tom Holland's Spider-Man mourning Tony Stark. Does he have to do it for 20 movies? Like, how long do you have to fucking mourn somebody? In real life, we mourn people for the rest of our lives, but in movies, you don't base fucking 50 movies on mourning one single character. They did the one movie, Far From Home, where Tony Stark's death impacted Spider-Man significantly, and then we got some resolve. And then you see at the end, when Spider-Man is outed, somebody said, well, Spider-Man, how are they going to continue on with the storyline that we ended with the cliffhanger, that Spider-Man's identity was revealed to New York City? So you're telling me that a secret identity being revealed to the world is an exclusive Disney idea, that nobody else can use the idea of a secret identity being revealed? Think! How does that make any fucking sense? Okay, so next up on my list I want to talk about is D23, and I want to start with the second trailer that we got for The Rise of Skywalker. Now, they didn't show much to begin with. They did a whole lot of recaps, as you can see on the screen, of the older movies, but what they did show was a bunch of what looked like Imperial Star Destroyers, a shit ton of Imperial Star Destroyers up in space, and they show Rey, which is like one of my favorite parts, doing the lightsaber throw and calling it back. But then they also show Rey with a double-bladed red lightsaber, and she looks like a Sith. Now, up until this point, I was always under the impression that, or I had the idea that there was a good chance that Rey was going to turn to the dark side, being as how easy she is in being manipulated, and Ben was going to come back to the light side. And I thought that Ben, having Skywalker blood in him, was that was going to be the rise of Skywalker, which it might still be the case, but now that they showed Rey with the red lightsaber, double-bladed lightsaber, I no longer think that she is actually going to turn to the dark side. So it's pretty funny that up until they actually show her with the red lightsabers, I was convinced that she was going to turn to the dark side. Now that they show it, I'm like, nope, there's no way. So that's that part. There, like I said, there isn't much to talk about. So, as you can see with the IGN article that I have pulled up, Ewan McGregor is coming back to reprise his role as Obi-Wan Kenobi in a not standalone series, but in a series that takes place 8 years after the events of the Revenge of the Sith. So obviously this is after the execution of Order 66, pretty long afterwards. We're getting to the other half of the 19 years that passed in between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. So, like I said, some time has passed since Order 66, and this is going to follow that. But, I mean, Obi-Wan Kenobi is one of the greatest characters, in my opinion, of all time. And Ewan McGregor's performance as Obi-Wan is one of my all-time favorites for anybody. So for him to come back to do that is going to be absolutely amazing, and I am absolutely stoked for it. Now, just to rattle off, we are going to also get for the Disney Plus service a She-Hulk series, a Ms. Marvel series. I'm going to watch them most likely, but my biggest interest is going to be Moon Knight. A lot of people compare Moon Knight to Batman, Batman being my favorite DC character. It'll be really cool to see Moon Knight come to a live-action series and see him brought to life. And if they do it right, it will make for a very, very interesting series, considering his backstory, all the personalities he takes up. It's not just like rich playboy, billionaire, philanthropist, whatever, and then caped crusader like Batman is. It's not that straightforward. He has so many different personalities that he actually forces himself to develop DID, dissociative identity disorder, and that's just really cool. And like I said, he as a character is just really fun and really cool and really badass. So I really hope they do him justice, and I can't wait to see that. So we also got the Joker trailer, the Joaquin Phoenix Joker trailer. Now, I am so torn on this movie. I don't think it should exist whatsoever. Now, they say that it's based in realism. DC Comics, Joker, Batman, not based in realism. So why would you base a non-realistic, obviously fictional story and characters off of a realistic world? I have no idea. I never understood it. Christopher Nolan can go suck an ass.
The same questions every week. How's your job? Are you having any negative thoughts?
So, I was obviously pissed when they announced this Joker origin story that's supposed to be based in realism. It's something I don't give two shits about. I think that Joaquin Phoenix is absolutely amazing as the Joker from what we can see so far. It's just that he doesn't become the Joker until Batman knocks him into a vat of acid. Now, if you wanted to reimagine the origin story, that's perfectly fine. But to say that Batman isn't going to be in this whatsoever is absolutely stupid. The only reason Joker exists is because of Batman. It's like a yin versus yang scenario where they balance each other out. You have this chaotic good versus chaotic evil. I guess it's not actually perfectly balanced, as all things should be. You can see how they do balance each other out for the most part. You have the good versus the evil. Like I said, if Batman didn't exist, Joker would not exist. So how can Joker exist in a world without Batman? Now, Joaquin Phoenix's laugh as the Joker is probably the best that I've heard since Mark Hamill, or at least one of the best. Maybe it's just really good in comparison to what we got with Jared Leto, which was absolutely horrid. Now, I know I've said it before, but the idea of the Joker being created from society, from normal situations, from depression and all the mental illnesses that he may possess, that it seems like he has here. Obviously, he's talking to a therapist. I do like that idea, but I think that could have been explored in a different way without utilizing Joker. Do these writers seriously lack that kind of confidence that they can't write a story without riding the coattails of an already established character? Is that just how writers are nowadays? They have to just utilize the clout of any character that they can get their hands on in order to actually make their stories succeed. I'm pretty sure that the reason that the Joker was utilized for this origin story without Batman, without anything, is just because people idolize the Joker. They throw him up on a pedestal for no reason. Obviously, he's an amazing character. He's one of my favorites, but there's no reason that he needs to be so prominent in media these days. The only reason he is because normies who have no idea what comic books even are just kind of popularize this character. It's the same as people who don't skate wearing Thrasher t-shirts and hoodies all the time. So it's the same people who idolize the Joker or Harley Quinn relationship. It's a shitty relationship. You have no idea what the fuck you're talking about, so sit down and shut the hell up. Now, let's continue on with bullshit DC decisions, and let's talk about Titans, Season 2. Now, I see everybody talking this show up so much, and I'm one of the few people who actually watched through the first season, and it sucked ass. You just sit there and you wait for them to actually show good things. And honestly, the best part about the show, the only good parts about the show, which I'm using that kind of loosely, but it's the supporting characters. Hawk and Dove. Hawk is absolutely amazing and portrays Hawk, or Alan Richardson, however you pronounce his last name. He portrays Hawk so well. But then you have Dick Grayson, who portrays, or sorry, not Dick Grayson. You have the character of Dick Grayson, who acts almost the same as Jason Todd in the comics, but then you have Jason Todd, who is way worse than Jason Todd from the comics, but as a supporting character, he is also one of the better characters for this series. The best episode in season 1 for Titans was the Doom Patrol episode, where they introduced the Doom Patrol, because those characters are absolutely amazing. So they did something similar to what they did with Cyborg, Aquaman, and Batman, which is they mixed up personalities of characters that should belong to the other. So you have Raven, who's chipper, lighthearted, happy, goofy, whatever. And then you have Starfire, who's dark and brooding.
You have 5 seconds.
Do what?
Tell me who the fuck you are.
There's no reason those personality traits should be that way when you can have Raven dark and brooding, and you can have Starfire as the happy-go-lucky chipper person, like they are from the original animated series and in the comics. Alright, so I forget where I was at, but Titans Season 2, the characters still look like complete fucking garbage. There's no reason the characters should look like this at all. They should look closer to the source material, but you know, DC's never gonna fucking want to appease fans and actually refer to the source material when making shit, so, I mean, that's just kind of tough luck. Another thing I wanted to point out was, if I can find it, you have these posters, these character posters for different people. So you have Starfire, who doesn't look like Starfire whatsoever. She's just tokenized. But you see her name in the background and the actor that plays Starfire. And I saw a promo from DC Universe that was showing different characters. And I forget who else they had. I think they had Raven. Let me see if I can find hers. I can't, but it was the same exact thing as the Starfire one, except in the background it said Raven. Don't know why I can't find it. Obviously, they have the Starfire one right there, so I don't know why I can't find the other. The other thing that pissed me off was that for Dick Grayson's poster, see if maybe I can find this. For Dick Grayson's poster, we had... Oh, there's Raven. So we have Raven, we have Starfire, we have Robin or Nightwing. Oh, wait, no. Look at that. He's not Robin or Nightwing. He's just straight up Dick fucking Grayson. Which, okay, there is a Grayson comic line and comic series. But seriously, we can't get Nightwing? He should have been Nightwing probably 2-3 episodes into season 1 of Titans. The whole reason of him going away from Batman, from Bruce, was because he disagreed with the way Bruce taught him, which is how in the comics he did the same thing, but he became Nightwing, and he changed. In this situation, he would have changed how he went about fighting crime, but in the comics, he just kind of got away from somebody who fights crime the way Batman does. So Dick Grayson is not Nightwing. I mean, there's a good chance he's going to become Nightwing in this season. If he doesn't, fuck this show hard. But, there's no reason he should be Dick Grayson here. He should have been Nightwing, like I said, episode 2 or 3 in the first season. So I have no idea what the fuck that is. Now, the last bit that I'd like to discuss is going to be Atral Chain. Now, this isn't like a full-on review, but I wanted to give my opinions on it. I picked it up, like I said, day one, and I didn't play it much. But what I did notice is the different gameplay mechanics are really fun. So yes, it is hack and slash style gameplay, but you also have some motorcycle scene. You start out with a motorcycle scene where you start dodging vehicles, shooting enemies, so on and so forth. The combat with the Legion that you have that connects to you via Atral Chain isn't as intuitive as I would have liked, but as I keep doing it, obviously I'll get better at it. So maybe in time it'll just become a little bit more intuitive and a little bit more and a little bit more until it's pretty much a breeze. So that's what I'm hoping for. The art style is absolutely awesome, but it's got like a nice Japanese look to it. It's got a nice shimmer. I like the color palette that they use. Now, the voice acting for some of the characters is way off, and I don't like, but then some of them are pretty good. So I started the game in docked mode, and like I said, it looked awesome. And then I took it out of docked mode in handheld mode, and I was surprised at how well it was able to keep up with the graphics. It was, obviously the resolution was lower, but it was hardly noticeable to me. But I'm not really the kind of guy who picks up on that kind of stuff, so that's why I consider the Nintendo Switch version of almost any game the definitive version, because it's portable. So it's so versatile. You could put it in docked, you could put it in handheld, you could put it in tabletop, whatever. So that's why I choose the Switch as the definitive version of most games, as long as it runs well, because I don't pick up on visual differences that well. So for me to be able to tell the difference between 720p and 1080p, I'm not going to be able to do it. So the only time I was ever able to actually see a difference was with Mortal Kombat 11 between the PlayStation 4 and the Nintendo Switch. Now, the gameplay is really fun. I really like using and at least practicing with the Legion that you have changed to you. You can do a couple different things. Specifically with the Legion, you can kind of just throw it and have it attack different enemies, or you can throw it past an enemy and you can wrap it around with the chain and it'll bind the enemy so you can attack it. You and the Chimera can attack it while it's chained up and subdued for a moment. Another thing you can do is sometimes enemies will kind of gear up to charge at you, and you can see where their path is going to be. So what you'll do is you throw your Legion off to one side of that path and you stay on the other, and as they sprint in that direction, you catch them with the chain and throw them back. They also have cool things like perfectly timed dodges that you can counter and kind of throw the enemy back really far. So if you time your dodges correctly, it'll really be beneficial to you. And it seems like they have a little bit more than I expected. I thought that my character was going to stay the same throughout the entire story, but it looks like they have a lot of unlockables in regards to cosmetics. Now, I was looking through to see if they had any statistic changes, maybe more armor rating, less armor rating, so on and so forth, but I didn't see anything. Like I said, I didn't get too far into it, but I was able to change between a dress police uniform, just a normal ballistic uniform, and a ballistic uniform with a chest plate on it. So I was cycling through those three trying to find different stats, and I didn't see anything that actually changes the stats, which is really cool. So then you can customize your character to however you want him or her to look, and you can you don't have to worry about stats or anything, because in RPGs, when you get good gear, you end up just putting that good gear on and you look like a dumb fuck wearing some Daedric helmet with Imperial chest armor or whatever. It's just, you end up looking stupid. So this way you can just make your character look cool without actually changing any statistics, which does kind of take away from a certain gameplay aspect that you could have put into that, but who knows, maybe I just didn't see the statistics. Maybe that is an option. Now, one thing I absolutely hate about Atral Chain is the music. The background music that plays, it's not dynamic. It doesn't slow down and calm down as you are not fighting somebody, as you're not in a hectic situation. It is constantly upbeat. It's going at like 120 beats per minute all the time, and it gets annoying after a while. After you're just walking around talking to people and you hear the you don't need that when you're just talking to people. Okay, so I'm sitting here again and made another revelation. So the soundtrack for Atral Chain is actually pretty darn tootin'. But it's just the track that they play in the police headquarters that is so freaking annoying when it plays over and over and over. So that's something I could definitely do without. I'm going to look into the settings, see if I can kind of change it up a bit. Maybe just turn the music volume down or whatever. But the music itself is good music. It's just way too... it has way too high of a tempo to be put alongside you having a conversation with somebody about energy drinks from a vending machine. So those are my thoughts on everything that I thought was notable or worth talking about in this last month. So like I said, I think I'm going to be doing this every month, but this might be the only video I do monthly for the next couple months. I don't get out of school until December 20th. So I can't say for sure. I might actually find some time to do more videos. If I do, you'll obviously see them. Subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any videos when I do upload. Go ahead and follow our social media on with the links that I put in the description below. Like I showed you before, I'll post some memes, I'll post some opinions like I did with the Spider-Man debacle. And if you like this video, go ahead and smash the like button. If you didn't, go ahead, hit the like or the dislike button. Go ahead and share this video with a friend so maybe we can get the Tex-Mex Nerd Feed name out there and we can kind of discuss more. In the comment section below, comment on whatever aspect of this video you want to talk about, whether it be the Sony debacle, whether it be Star Wars. Do you actually think Rey is going to turn to the dark side? or about my very unpopular opinions on the DC characters. So that is going to be it for me. Thank you for watching. Go forth, discuss, but remember, don't take life too seriously.